Morning guys, my name's Brayden, I'm an alcoholic. I'm not nervous at all. It's been a long journey, a long road to get to where I am today. And I'm really grateful that I can sit here today and share in my 1 year. I never thought I would get this. I thought I was one of the few who would be stuck in that cycle, either die from this disease or who knows. That obsession was there all the time, and I never thought it would go. But I'll just share a bit about what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So I'll just start at the beginning. I came from a loving family. I couldn't have asked for anything. My parents were always there, always got looked after. As a child, I remember growing up and being very fearful, pretty much of everything. Very scared of the world and what was in it. I can see the behavior in me from a young age, how I clung on to behaviors to hide that fear or to deal with those fears in life. And it was there, like I said. Sorry, I'm nervous though. I had a happy childhood. Loved life. And really made the most of it. And it was kind of around 6 years old. I went through a bit of a traumatic experience where that kind of shaped me in a way with behaviors or defects of character that kind of stuck with me throughout my years in active, especially being anger. And it's kind of when the walls went up and the masks came out. I became a very angry individual. I dealt with everything through anger, and I didn't let anyone in after what had happened. I was very confused. Obviously, it took a few years before I realized what had happened to me. But it was difficult for me to understand at that age. And that's kind of how I went through life. I never let anyone in. I created this person that I wanted people to see. Someone who shouldn't be messed with. And if you hurt me, I'll hurt you. Twice as hard. It was kind of my way of going about things. And that caused a lot of pain for me and for a lot of other people. It's a lot of people with that sort of behavior. I went through school as well. Like I said, always very fearful. Fear of judgment and fearful of what could happen. I spent a lot of my life projecting. I can't wait until this happens, and then that will come, and projecting to the next point, never being happy with what's going on in the present moment. And I missed a lot in life because of that. Yes, I had my good times, but I wasn't there. I wasn't present. And kind of at the age of 12 was my first experience, my first time that I'd used, and I remember, that feeling I got from it. That I'd been looking for something for so long, that would help me, fit in and just be someone else and not that fearful individual. And it was here and there, me and my cousin were very close, and he was quite a naughty guy. And I took off with that. It was another mask that I could put on, and I saw the reaction that I got from people, and I was this naughty clown. When I was 16, that's kind of where things really took off for me, because I started experimenting with other with other substances and alcohol. I mean, my substance of choice was for the first time I'd used when I was 16, and that's kind of where it really took off for me. And I was able to function okay on the stuff. In high school, I thrived. For me, throughout my schooling career, academics wasn't really my thing. I loved my sports. There was a place for me, another place where I felt safe and where I could be, basically let out all of that frustration and that build up of anger. I don't know. I had this rage in me that was there for most of my life. I don't know why. On the rugby field, that was a place for me where I could really be someone that I wasn't, in the off the field, and I thrived there. And I went, it's like what it's like in high school, the steroids and things like that. It was again another step for me to be, to step up to this person that I thought I needed to be to get through life, and that made me even more angry, and also very confused at times. And I became a person that, my friends were scared of me eventually. At one point, they got to a point where they were scared of me because of the way that I, would lash out and my behavior, the way that I'd be, the person that I'd become. And I couldn't see this. I couldn't see it. And I wrote off a lot of those friends because it's like if you don't like me for who I am, then, jog on. And I lost a lot of friendships because of that. And my family started seeing, drips and drags of the addict in me. I don't think they knew what was coming. But for example, my brothers at that stage grew up with me being terrified of my responses to situations. My mother, even my dad started backing up, and me and my dad have never seen eye to eye. Very old school, and I grew up in a house also lots of discipline, and I don't like discipline, I don't like authority, and I don't like people telling me what to do. So me and my dad were at it all the time, at each other's throats, and I never backed down. And this created a lot of tension in the household. And like I said, he eventually backed off because of how I would react to situations. It became really nasty. And that was kind of, the story that went throughout. People treaded lightly around me. And I didn't care about anyone in life but myself. I was chasing something that that I wouldn't let anyone get in the way of, and very selfish. I caused a lot of pain for my family. If I look back on it, a lot of pain. They're still very fearful of if this is it, if this time is different. Every time I came out of treatment, they would say to me what's different, and I could never answer that, and today I know it's through my behavior that I can show my family that it's different. And for a long time I lived a double life, so my family didn't really know much of my drug habits. So it was pretty much behind the scenes for a very long time, and I functioned for a very long time before the cracks started showing. And it was kind of in 2013 where my rehab cycle started, and I didn't know what I was in for, still very much in denial, and I thought it was normal, I just thought I liked to party a lot, I didn't think I had a problem. So my first stint was in a psychiatric hospital, where I got pumped full of meds. And for me, that was pretty much a score, if I could say, because that's more that I can use to numb those feelings. Also, I went through life. I don't like to feel. I struggle with feelings, even expressing myself. I thought I have to. I don't know. Like even this morning, I was thinking about what am I going to share about. I struggle with that. I feel like I can't express myself. But where was that? Oh, psychiatrics. And that was kind of the start of I'd say, the real messy part of my active addiction. I got pumped full of meds, and I would self-medicate. I came out of the rehab and I went straight back to using. It was more. They used more scare tactics there, of showing me what my brain will look like if I continued to use drugs, all the infections I could get, and it didn't scare me. It really didn't scare me. And I went into sessions where I was diagnosed. I've been diagnosed with quite a few things. And one of them, I would sit on the couch and my leg, I can't sit still. I've always been like that. And the psychiatrist, basically dosed me up until my legs stopped. And I remember her saying to me in the session, "I see your legs stop shaking." I said, "Well, in my head, well, do you know how high I am?" And it was bad. I walked around those corridors in that hospital like a zombie, falling asleep in sessions. And I remember they would ring a bell for medication, and it was like I heard a wildebeest running towards a river mouth, and I had the most medication in the cup, and everyone was like, "Oh, wow, look how many pills you've got." And I protected that cup, because I knew what I was in for. I knew what I was in for. And I was a zombie, They wanted to do shock therapy on me, and I was like, "Okay, no, that's a bit much. I'll stick to the medication." And I came out of that facility, and I went right back at it. But now I had something else to add to the mix. And that was the first time I expressed to my family that I have a problem. Before going in there. I came back from Opi Kopi on that Monday, and blasted through till Tuesday morning. I was supposed to be at work on Tuesday morning, and I think I was in psychosis because of the stuff that I saw. Opi was I don't think a normal person would see those sort of things, running from garden gnomes and running through campsites, trying to find my cat. It was mad. It was mad. It was scary as well. I didn't know what was happening to me. And like I said, came out of that facility and continued to run riot and cause more pain and damage. I definitely believe that there's someone out there, a higher power. I believe in God, and someone who had been very angry with my whole life because I blamed him for a lot of the stuff that happened to me. And I said, well, if you were a caring God, how can you let this happen to me? Only my way of my relationship with him was I blamed him for everything, and I only prayed when I wanted something. When I was in the cuck, basically. That was it. But today I can look back and say there's definitely someone in my life that's been looking out for me. I've had a lot of close calls with car accidents. And just to show you the insanity, or tell you about the insanity, I came out of treatment. I think it was my third rehab, and I was in there for a few months, and I'd gotten out a few days earlier to drop my mom off at the hospital. She was going for a minor surgery, There was no one else to take her, so I asked my counsellor. I said, "Listen, I'd like to take my mom to a hospital and be there for her. But for me, the addict, that was a way out to go and use again. Because that same night, I dropped my mom off at the hospital and I went out. And the scary thing is, the only recollection I have is leaving the rehab, dropping my mom off at hospital, and getting to the club. I didn't remember anything else. And I woke up in ICU 4 days later, having to hear that, or seeing my mom in the same hospital, the look of terror on her face, that wasn't the first car accident I had, but this was a serious one. And they had told my mom, we don't know if he's going to wake up again. We don't know if there's brain damage or, And I was told I was folded up on the passenger side of a car under the dashboard. I'm not exactly a small individual, so I don't know how that happened. The paramedics opened the car door and not the tow truck driver, and had one look at me and said, well, he's more likely tickets, so we'll wait for the paramedics. And that never clicked for me. All of that stuff that people were telling me, it never registered for me. I didn't see it as a serious incident. And the insanity of that is I left. I got taken out of ICU, put into critical care, and the first thing I did when I left, I picked up and I went right back at it. With no concern for anyone or what had even happened to me. And again, I went right back at it. People always told me, if you continue on this path, this is what's going to happen. I thought, no, I'm different. It won't happen to me. And it did. I lost the relationships. I got kicked out of the house. I lost the jobs. I lost my apartment. I lost my car. I didn't know who I was anymore, and it became a very isolated way of life for me. My using was the most important thing, and I did anything to use. I had a big fear of running out of my substances, so I started hoarding, putting stuff in all kinds of spaces, and I'd get quite excited because I'd go on like a treasure hunt in my apartment, forgetting I'd got all this stuff, and I'd find this stuff, and it was like a big party for me, That's how sad my life had become, ending up in psychosis after days on end of just binging off drugs, having conversations with myself, and barricading my apartment, closing the blinds, closing the curtains, putting blankets over the curtains, taping up the blankets, putting my furniture up against the sliding doors, and it was quite a thing, and then I would towards the end, when I could feel my body was crashing, I would dose myself up on psychotropics and get into like a dismal state and pass out for like 2 days, where people eventually started, looking for me, like my own mother, climbing over walls to get into my garden to see if I was still alive, or what's going on. And like I said, my rehab cycle started quite late. But I remember someone saying to me, you're part of the cycle, and it's up to you and what you do in life now that will get you out of that cycle. And I thought nothing of it. I actually laughed it off. Kind of thought well, who are you? You don't even know who I am. But the scary thing is I didn't even know who I was. And I met someone in a rehab where earlier on, it was my second rehab. A good friend of mine today, and we ended up relapsing together. I kind of roped him in, doing what I do best, taking enabling others and not really caring about what impact that would have on them and their family. And we had quite an epic relapse, to the point where, he drove over me with my own car. He accidentally stabbed me in the arm. We had fights. These are two individuals who we got on well, and that day it all boiled down to him driving me over in a parking lot. I remember going back to my house, and I jumped into the pool in everything that I was wearing. I was in jeans and the shoes, and he that was kind of the point where I was like, there's something not right here. There's something that's not okay with me, and this way that I'm living. And I remember him walking into my house and the look on his face. I wasn't all there. I think I must have been in psychosis or tweaking out, as I always do, rattling. And that look on his face was scary, because I think it was one of the first times in my life where I realized what I was doing was not okay. And that look of terror on his face, after that a few days in and out of madness, what was mad right through. Again, as Brayden does, I remember dropping him off, and he's like, well, I don't think you're going to see me for a while. I'm going to go to rehab. And the severity of the situation, I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'll go back to rehab and, run away from the mess that I've created, get better, and come back and get back to it. And he got better. I went back to another treatment center where that's just the same rehab when I came out and I had that car accident, and I could see something was different in him, I could hear on the phone, and he said to me, well, when you're ready, I'm here for you. I spoke to him throughout that year. It took me a year to get to rock bottom again. And I thought that was yet again another rock. I thought this was it, like I can't do this anymore. And I started experimenting with other drugs, and again, I remember sitting on a couch and calling him and saying, I can't do this anymore. I need help, because I saw what he had. And all the other times that I went to meetings and being in rehabs, I saw bits and pieces of what recovery could be like, but it wasn't attractive to me. I must be honest, I loved my drugs. I loved it. I think that was my solution to life, to everything, and to numb all the pain and those feelings. But I remember he called the treatment center that I was in down here, and I came down here, and I think there were about 50 or 55 people in the treatment center when I came in, and very paranoid, coming down, and I remember walking onto the balcony or to the veranda, and just seeing all these people, and when the guys that picked me up told me how many people were in the rehab, I was like, oh fuck, I don't know if I can do that. Like, you can take me back to the airport, I don't know if, because I was used to those 28 people rehabs where you have an ensuite bathroom, and for me it was more of a holiday rehab, and this rehab's a different story. And I kind of was resentful towards my friend after he had sent me there, because I found out I had to do duties. And there was this group called Concern Group, which I didn't like at all. As much as I thrived was that person I'd become. I thrived off conflict and that was my I was good at it. I got into that group and withdrawing from all kinds of things. There was also like my withdrawals were, I didn't know whether I was coming or going because I didn't use one substance. I was like a rubbish bin. And like you said, I took everything in as much as I could. And it was tough, eh? I didn't know how, it was in the middle of summer and I didn't know how I was going to get through that. It was the first treatment centre where people could see right through my masks. I remember my admission, he was this stocky individual. I was in the office and very intimidating, and then when I found out he was going to be my sponsor, I shot myself. Fuck. And that was kind of the first time where I could really see who I was, but very fearful of letting go of that. Because I didn't know anything else in life. That was how I'd been my whole life, and those were my tools, I got a lot of help, and people really went out of their way to help me, but I abused that. I was dishonest, and I had moments when I was there when I felt like if I continued with what I was doing, maybe things could have been different, but it had to be my experience. I had to go through more pain to get to where I am today. And I remember being dishonest with my sponsor and trying to manipulate my way of getting out of there, because there was the solution that was given to me, but I was too scared to let go of who I'd become, and I didn't like seeing who I was. I don't like to look at my stuff. I don't like that. For me, Brayden, the addict or the alcoholic, I like to look at everyone else's stuff, and blame and manipulate and I wanted to use, but I didn't want to use, and I left that day after being there for 5 months and not really following suggestions, and I white-knuckled it for a few months, and I relapsed again. That was kind of the cycle for me, in and out of rehab, relapsing, and causing more destruction, writing off cars, and really causing a lot of pain and conflict for my family, who supported me throughout my stints in rehab, and they've always been there for me. They've given me tough love, which I'm really grateful for today. In the moment, I blamed them, and I couldn't understand what they were doing. They were trying to love me. And I saw it as them being mean and very selfish of me. And then I came back to treatment, this time broken. I drove myself down, longest drive of my life. The radio wasn't on the whole drive, and I used the whole way down. When I got to the best part of my drive was taking the off-ramp to Scottsboro. That was the best part of my drive, and I remember getting to treatment, and Josh was, that guy was waiting for me, and he could see I wasn't like her, and my buddy Shane, quite a young guy. He's like 18, and the look on his face when he saw me, I think he must have been thinking like, fuck, how am I gonna buddy this thing, He was quite a small guy, and he said after the stories that I heard, he said I was very intimidating, and which I got concerned for on 3 occasions, that hostile, threatening, and aggressive, and angry, which I could never see. Couldn't understand it. It's taken me a long time to work through that stuff. But something had changed for me. That gift of desperation they talk about was there, and it was raw. It was raw. Every other time I went to rehab, and it was like I was excited, because I was going to get more meds, and I was going to get put into bubble wrap, and it's going to be okay. And a chance for me to sit and tell the psychiatrist or psychologist or counselor how horrible people are to me, and how me in this world really is madness. And this time I wanted to do things differently, and that gift of desperation and that pain was there. It was raw, and it was like my higher power put everything up on the big screen and said, "Brayden, watch this." And every day I spent in treatment, there was a reminder. I was seeing people come into the treatment center, and I could see so much of myself in them. People trying to help them, but they didn't want it. That was me, and I abused that, and it was kind of through a one-on-one where, things changed for me. It was kind of like the turning point. It was like a God moment for me, where I was sharing my experience with someone, and I kind of the penny dropped for me, and all these things I was saying, and I became good at rehab and good at talking the program, but I never worked a program, and it clicked for me. It's like, well, Brayden, you are giving advice or sharing your experience, but you've never done it, and if you want to get this thing, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like weird, this voice I made, if you want to get this right, you need to do this, and I had to get honest. And I started breaking down the walls and exposing, who I really was. And it was scary, very scary, because, like I said, I didn't want people to see how fearful I really am, Like I said, I created this persona, this big, tough, mean hood villain, but actually like a teddy bear, and things started happening for me. I had to sell my car to pay for treatments, something that I was never willing to do. I've always been looked after. My parents have always paid for my treatments, and this time they were like, you're on your own, and the big man up there also helped me out, and my sponsor, and I was looked after, and it was said to me in treatment, I would always be fearful of what's to come and how's this going to plan out. And someone said to me, Brayden, have you not been looked after up until now? Look at when you came in and look at now. And I have been looked after. And I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and things changed for me when I worked this program. And today I can sit here and I can say I'm happy and I'm free. For the first time in a very long time, I can deal with my emotions in a way that's somewhat close to how the aliens do it. But when I've got to use my program, and I've really tried this year. It hasn't been easy. My first year in recovery, I've had an awesome time. I've made amazing friendships. I've had good laughs. I've had my ups. I've had my downs. But what really stands out for me is the happy and free, and how good life is today. I never in a million years thought that I would sit in this chair today, being 1 year clean. I think it's the longest I've ever been clean. And it's amazing. It's really amazing what this program can offer. It was always said to me, this if I can give you a taste of recovery, you'll be hooked on it. And I thought, what a lot of shit, But it truly is amazing. And the way that I see things today in life, the small things in life are amazing. I can have honest conversations and expose my stuff with people. That's not me. I never did that. I don't like to be seen as weak, and today I put down those walls and I expose who I am. This is what I'm going through, and I ask for help. Something I never did before as well is I ask for help, because I know I can't do this alone. I've tried to do it for a long time, and that got me in rehab every time. every single time. And I had to listen, for the first time. It's like I say, you can only hear when you can hear, and you can only see when you can see. And today I can. And it's only through this program and through the people that have helped me in these rooms, all of you guys that are sitting here today, that that have helped me along the way. Even if I don't know who you, haven't really been a part of your journey, it's all connected. And I believe God works through people, and He's sitting in every one of these chairs. And if it wasn't for God and that relationship I have with my higher power, this program, and my sponsor, I don't know where I would be today. I definitely wouldn't be sitting in this room. So I'm really grateful to each and every one of you, to my friends that have been here for me and been there along the way. To you, Caleb, thank you very much for putting up with my skullduggery for so long. Yeah, I think that's enough, eh? Thanks for letting me share.